Howdy, howdy, and welcome to My Bloody Judy with your final forgets, myself, Zachary Patton Garcia.
And Ian Carlos Crawford.
We're here to talk about Cobweb today. Cobweb was in theaters, wouldn't it?
Yeah, like
Okay.
for a very short period of time, yeah.
Okay, well, it's on VOD right now. And as you're watching this, we should have just recorded because I think this is going out on Friday. So we did watch it. It's like $6.99 to rent. It's fine. You could buy it. They have it to own as well. And I think you and I both, neither of us really knew what this was. And I know I've seen the trailer, but I don't think I retained anything that the trailer had to tell me because I just knew I just had the image of Lizzie Kaplan holding the cupcakes. That was it.
I can't tell if I knew that image and the one from the dream of her with the long fingers, if I knew from a trailer or just from seeing them on Twitter.
Okay.
Those were the two images I had seen from this movie that I was thinking of.
What did you think this movie was going to be?
So I had seen, the thing I told you was the thing I kept seeing was people said it was like a Goosebumps, but for adults, and that it should have been released at Halloween.
I see it.
And I feel like both those things are very accurate.
Halloween it's a vibey movie. It is very Halloween, even though they don't really participate in Halloween. This family that we follow, it feels very Halloween. It feels very Goosebumps for adults. It also feels like Trick or Treat. You've seen Trick or Treat, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels Trick or Treat, like one of those side anthology stories within it. I don't know. It felt like there was a lot of inspirations being pulled. There's a little bit of Mama in there. I was getting Mama vibes.
Yeah.
But I also have something else in there. There's a story. There's a true life story, true crime story called of the story of Blanche Monnier, and she was this socialite girl in France, and she was 20 years old, right? Back in the olden days. And her mother, she was rumored to have been in love with somebody that her mother didn't approve of. And so her mother locked her in the attic for 25 years. And when they found her, there's a picture of her, or a sketch or something of her with really long hair, sitting in this attic, surrounded by rats and bugs and her own filth and stuff like that, and really bony. And it reminded me of this movie. This movie reminded me of that, actually. So,
I mean, yeah, so the thing I thought you were going to say is because when I was watching it, I was sometimes something just reminds me, it does the vibe so well, it reminds me of a story or a book or a short story. And this kept reminding me of a short story. And then I saw that they said it's loosely inspired by the Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart.
Oh, it's got Edgar Allan Poe vibes dripping from it, so I see it.
Right, and once I read that, I was like, "Yep, that makes sense."
I would say the best description is absolutely adult Goosebumps. Yeah. I just think that really nails it. It seems like a Fear Street story, this is one of the houses on the Fear Street.
Yes, yes.
In what do they call it? Shadyside. Yes, in the town of Shadyside.
Wait, isn't it Holdenfield or is it school Holdenfield?
Holdenfield. It reminded me of Michael Myers' origin story too. Rob Zombie's Halloween, the opening of it.
I do think this. I feel like the person who made this. So it was also produced by Seth Rogen. It's the first horror movie.
This is the most random fucking movie that
right. Yeah, Lizzie Kaplan from Mean Girls and Homelander from The Boys. Very random shit. But I also now I don't remember what I was going to say other than that.
Okay.
Oh yes, this is whoever made this, which I forgot to. I don't know. But it feels like it was if you and I made a horror movie. I think those were on purpose. I felt
absolutely. It doesn't. They don't drag them down. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It was well worth $6.99, and it feels like a movie that I will revisit during Halloween season.
Yes.
And years going forward, which is I love that. Right. I'm not obsessed with it. It's not got me. I'm not thinking about it. It's not seeping down into my psyche, but I love it, and it's going to be a real fun watch going forward in the years to come. It does star Lizzie Kaplan, Anthony Starr, Cleopatra Coleman. What was she from? Because she looked semi-familiar, a little bit familiar. Let's see.
I don't know.
Infinity Pool might be it. She was most recently in Infinity Pool, so I bet that's it. But yeah, so she's in it. Wasn't a big fan of her character, just spoiler. And then this little kid, Woody Norman as Peter. What did you think of the movie overall?
So I text Kirsten White actually after we
Yeah.
watched it to be like, "Have you heard of Cobweb?" Because I like her and I usually have the same taste in shit, but I was like, "This is a movie I'm not sure," because I could see where the references might be like tiring for someone, but I agree with you. They didn't bother me, but I could see them bothering someone being like, "Ugh." So I told her, I was like, I could see it maybe bothering you, but I liked it and it reminded me of like a short story we both would talk about. And she was like, "Oh, I'll have to add it to my list." Because she'll watch like her like teens really like horror, so they'll like watch, but they get like it's so funny. They're like they'll get snobby with her about the horror she likes.
Yeah.
Because she was like, I was like, the teens might like this. Because I feel like this is like different enough from other stuff that like I
It
could see,
is. It
right?
is.
Like, um, but yeah, no, I was watching it and I was like, I know Zach and I feel the same. I feel like you and I are pretty good with knowing
mhm.
when we feel the same way about a thing, and I like felt the same
It
thing.
was it was more what I was hoping from the Boogeyman. Do you remember that Boogeyman movie that just came out and we watched it and had the girl from the Yellow Jackets? Was it called Boogeyman? It was the one about the light sphere and like the monster in the dark and the light sphere.
Oh, yes, it was. You're right. I think it
Yes.
was called
This is like
Boogeyman.
a
Yeah,
better
yeah,
version of that, is
yes,
what it kind of felt like, which
I could
is
see
what
that.
I
Yeah,
wanted from that movie, and I got in this movie. So I'm happy with that. The whole story is just basically about this kid who's really sheltered. Lizzie Caplet's his mom, Anthony Starr's his dad, and he goes to school and he's, being bullied at school. And then at night, every night when he goes into his bedroom, he hears this like knocking on the wall. And so we have this mystery that plays out. And what do you think of the mystery? Because I was I liked it. I liked it. The twist wasn't like as the story went, you could figure it out pretty easily, but it still really worked for me, and the whole reveal really worked for me, and I felt anxiety as you are
yes.
supposed to in a horror movie.
I think I did call this when we were like, I think like halfway through, I was like, all right, I think the whoever's like the parents are bad, but whoever's in
I
the
feel
closet
like
is
that
worse.
was
Like,
because we kept unmuting each other, and I think every time we
yeah.
would unmute each other, it was mostly just like throwing out guesses of what was
So I
about to
think because I
happen.
think that was like my like third guess, and I was like, okay, wait, this is what I think it is.
Yeah.
Because when the movie started, I was like, wait, do I not like Lizzie Kaplan's acting in this? And then I was like, oh no, that's all on
What did you
purpose.
think
Now
of
I
that
like it.
though? What did you think of that? Okay, so it read to me as very much a like Kate Winslet as a horror character, like with a little bit of Kathy Bates in there, you know.
I the Kathy Bates I could for sure see because
Mhm.
I think like once the teacher went there, it was like, oh no, the mom is supposed to be off because the teacher even says like there was something weird about her, like I don't know what's going
Mhm.
on, and like you know what I mean. Like clearly, if a character in the movie recognizes it, we are also. It's not. I thought it was like weird acting, but then I was like, oh no, this is like what it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
So I liked it. Once I got into it, I was like, okay, I like this performance because it
I
was
liked it.
weird and like the way she like verbalized things was like very like halted and she would
It
like
was it
I
was
don't
very
know.
because I wasn't sure if she was supposed to be this religious mother, right, or
Yeah.
like somebody who was like a religious nut, and I don't think so. Anthony Starr's Mark. Uh, I just can't look at this man after seeing him in The Boys anymore and see him as anything but evil. So I looked at him. He had brown hair, and I was like, "This man is evil. I know he's gonna be evil. I just see his face, and he's evil. He's just this man has an evil face." So
He really does. Like there was times when they were close up on him, and I just kept seeing. And I haven't watched the boys, but I've just
yeah,
seen like from Twitter. What's that one clip they always show where he's like, and he's like realizing something, and like people are like snapping
there's
photos
I
of
don't know.
him.
There's a lot of damn clips. I haven't even seen like the newest season, so.
Oh, okay, I've always meant to watch it, but add it to if I felt
But I
like
know him. I know Homelander.
it.
Everybody
No,
knows the Homelander. So I knew he was gonna be fucking evil. I did kind of suspect that maybe she was gonna be like a good one, or better at least, and like maybe towards the end, like set her son free or like get her
like
son out of
save
there or
him.
help.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I didn't know like the mystery was unfolding before us, and I don't think I was thinking too far ahead in terms of the mystery. Just as things would happen, I would sort of start putting my guesses in.
Mhm.
But when we got to the part where they're like all sitting around eating whatever the fuck that was,
Yeah. Also, what was that?
shit, shit,
It looked like
diarrhea.
weird slop.
That was
You haven't had your
little
diarrhea
little
soup.
sister's diarrhea soup. That was hers. She made it in the wall and passed it through the hole. Whenever like that scene was coming up and he was like, "This tastes funny," I'm like, "This Lizzie Kaplan done poisoned somebody
Mhm.
with the rat poison. I thought that's what I thought was going to happen, but really it was the child, and that was wild too. The child like poisoned the parents, because I guess this little like whatever is in the wall, right, is talking to him at night and he's talking back. And so I wasn't sure either if that was like psychological or if there was something actually in the wall. But it was making him do bad things. And so the bullies at school made him push one of his bullies, Brian, down the stairs and he broke his leg, right? And then he gets expelled from school, which is wild. Like, also consider the bully, please.
Right. You like, come on, like
Like, my kid came home with like a bruise under his
every day.
chin. Yes. Please. Let's expel both. How about that? But we quickly like realized that both of the parents are just shitty. And I just
Well, I mean,
wasn't sure what was coming with that because it felt
yeah,
like,
I liked what you were like because it's so true. You were like, this
yeah,
is why communication is important. Because like rather than being like, you don't hear anything to the child and you're not allowed to have
yeah.
nightmares, maybe be like, yeah, don't talk to that crazy person in the wall.
They're in the wall for a reason, son.
Yeah,
Just
like
trust me. You want to know why? Let me tell you why. When you open the door in the wall, here the door is behind this little thing. If you do that, this person is crazy. They look wild, right?
right.
Okay, shining like a flashlight through the hole. Let them see what the person looks like. And not only that, but this person gonna kill everybody as soon as she gets out. So
She is has
just be careful.
superpowers.
Just be careful. I don't know how she was so damn strong and couldn't make it out of the wall.
Because also we saw that Lizzie Kaplan fed her, right? She brought
Yes.
her. And like the creature we saw by the end feels like she could have just snatched her arm
You
and pulled her
didn't
through the
take
wall and
out
murdered her.
Lizzie Kaplan. Lizzie Kaplan also a monster, right? There's something underneath Lizzie Kaplan's dress that tentacles that come out and like, is this a genetic thing? I don't know. They're making monsters over there. But I did fun fact. Deborah Wilson, she was in Mad TV. She was one of my favorites in Mad TV. She used to play
Oh yeah,
Oprah.
yeah.
She was the
Remember her.
voice of the little sister Sarah.
Oh really?
Yeah, when she's a monster though, when she's like, ah.
Oh, only when she's a monster. Okay.
I think a little girl played her as the little girl voice.
That's always weird when someone like that has like a role like that, when it's like, oh, but I know who that person is, and they have like this like weird,
I love her. I'm obsessed with her.
I liked her, and who's the woman that now does all the voices on Family Guy? That was the other woman on
Was
Mad
it
TV.
shit. It's
Samantha something? No.
no, it's
Nicole, right?
Nicole.
Is it Nicole something? The
Nicole
blonde
Sullivan
lady?
does a lot of them too, and she was on Mad TV at one time. But
Okay, I
also,
think that's what
well,
that's
are you talking about Lois?
no. No, no,
No.
no, no, no. I'm
Okay,
talking
because she
about
does a lot of voices too, and
yeah,
she was also on Mad TV.
right, right, right.
So
But no,
she's
I
all
was talking
connected. All
about yeah,
connected. They all live in the
anyway.
wall. They're all in the wall. The mystery is pretty fucking good though. I was like into it. I was following it, which is like how you want to keep my attention, right? So like I was into it. I felt so terrible for this little boy.
Right. And it's a
Yeah.
tight 90 minutes, which I think is like that's
Yes.
all you
Oh,
and I want. Like,
perfect. Yeah, they weren't trying to feed us too much. At one point, Alistair was like, I think he had lost him a little bit, my husband, because he leaned over to me and he's like, I thought this was going to be the end. I'm like, no, he's got to let her out now. We've got to see what she can do. Um, but they were like giving us little morsels of the mystery. There's a little girl in a house down the road who like went. Did she go missing or did she come up dead?
show
She went
missing.
missing because she was
Yeah.
the girl in Pumpkin Patch, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pumpkin Patch made no fucking sense to me. So is there a bunch of people in the Pumpkin Patch under all the
I
pumpkins?
I thought we were supposed to assume that, right? I don't know.
And how did she die? Was she another sister, or was she killed by Sarah, or was she killed by the parents?
No, the she did say she killed the little girl. She said,
Ah,
like, I'll do the same thing I did to her when she came to the door.
yeah.
Um, so
We don't have
um
any candy.
the
Lizzie Kaplan was fucking stressed during this movie. A period of this podcast needs to be paid attention needs to be paid to Lizzie Kaplan's stress level because she was stressed from beginning minute one to her death rattle.
when it's Halloween and she's freaking out about a child ringing the doorbell as if that's
She's
like
like, oh, we just can't have family dinner at peace. And she goes to the door and
I love that it's we stay on the dad and the son and we just hear her angrily walking to the door and be like, and slamming the door.
slamming the door and marching back, right? Like, she needed medication, a weed,
I was
and
gonna
a
say, yeah.
vacation. And a vacation. Somebody needed to tell her she was enough.
But So I want everyone to know when I showed up to Zoom wearing this, Zach was like, "Oh,
I
I
said,
know
"Are
you're
you
depressed.
depressed?"
You're wearing pastel."
I see if Ian's wearing any type of colors, that lets me know he's probably depressed, right? If he's wearing black, it's a normal Tuesday.
This is my like. This is a shirt that I feel like I will never wear in public because I don't like pastels. But it's like
Really? It's
it's also a little
cute.
too
It's a good
big.
shirt, and we love it. We love it. We love capitalism.
Thanks.
That goes out
There,
to you, Emmy.
there was a point I was gonna make, and now I
I don't
can't
know.
remember.
Continue.
Uh, no, I don't. I literally don't remember. I'm yeah. My upload just failed again, but it failed downloading from DaVinci. So I think that means I just don't have any space on my computer,
No,
which will be
you
fun for me.
probably don't, because Sarah from the wall has been using your laptop at night. Clearly, you could have somebody in your house, in your walls, in your basement.
In this house, absolutely.
Yes, I've seen your house.
I think I know you've looked it up.
Yes, it looks like somebody could be living in there.
I told someone that story the other day. I forget who it was, but they were like, "Yeah, I do that too." And I
I'm
was like,
so
"You
glad that
do?"
we mentioned it on a podcast one time, because when we put
Yeah.
that clip out and it became a debated topic, everybody agreed with me. They're like, "Yes, of course we do that. Of course I'm going to look up your house. If I have your address, I'm looking up your house." Yes.
I had to do that for Etsy. There was someone gave me their address, and Etsy kept saying this is not a valid address. So I was like, "Hey, can you like check?" And they were like, "That's my address." I looked it up on Google Maps, and it's an abandoned lot.
Okay. And that's where they
And
want to pick their packages up. It's not your fucking business, Ian.
but if there's no mailbox, it won't get delivered.
That's where Sarah has her mailbox. It's somewhere in there. It might be a hole in the ground, but it's there. Okay. They just drop it through the little bars in the floor.
Also, when did you make that up, or is it in the movie that they call her Sarah?
It's Sarah. I'm looking at the cast list. They call her Sarah. I don't remember ever saying Sarah.
I
But
don't. Yeah,
sure.
but
Sissy in the wall is what I thought. Sissy
um,
Spacek. It's just Sissy Spacek in the wall.
I looked it up, and I messaged them, and I was like, "Hey, I just looked this up on Google Maps. This is an abandoned lot." And they're like, "They must have an old photo." And I'm like, "This sounds like they're set up to like, because that's not how that works, right?"
I don't know. Sometimes I would look up my own house when we lived in Lawton, and I'd still see the previous
Oh,
owners,
really?
their cars. Yeah. So it
Oh.
took a while
Because she
for
said she
it to
did just
update to
buy
our
it,
cars.
but I was like, "All right, I
That's
guess I'll send it."
suspicious.
Right?
Yes. Does she have a son named Peter? Are they not allowed to dress up for Halloween? That's the question you need to ask next. Um, which was fucking wild that they could not dress up for Halloween. I don't understand that either. Why could we not dress up for
I think
Halloween?
it's just like they like had such negative feelings towards
About
Halloween because
monsters?
that was when their daughter murdered someone, and they had to cover it up and
Okay.
put her in the attic forever.
It's a
So
family outing, is what I think. Get
this
away from her
house,
for a little while.
my childhood home that I now live in, um, this house, I always think of that with movies like that. I'm like, so much so that it barely scares me because I just have my entire life I've thought
Yeah.
of that, like because our attic still scares me, and I'm fucking 40 years old and moved back here 6 years ago and realized I still had that same fear I did growing up.
Mm.
Of like, I don't know, it's because it's so dark. I always say dark is what scares me, right? There's no lights, although like there's no light in the attic, but it's the length of the house. Um, and my dad has put so much shit there. The weirdest thing you can see with a flashlight is my brother's old Millennium Falcon from like the 80s. That was like the original one.
Hmm.
You can just see it sitting on a box. And like
You
for
should
some reason
sell it.
that imagery creeps me out because it's like a child's toy in like a corner dusty on a box.
If you film it on Super 8 and just like do real tight corners, you can make a Skinamarink 2.
I probably could.
You should do that.
But so like
Yeah.
I'm so used to thinking like and like Children in the Attic, which we reviewed and was not nearly that scary once to revisit it. It was a good movie. The like hand coming out of the
The
vent.
hell is Children in the Attic? What are you
Not
talking
Children
about?
in the Attic.
Flowers in the Attic? We've never done that. People
Is it
under the
Children in the
stairs?
basement? People under the stairs. Jesus
I thought
Christ.
this was very people under the stairs coded. This
But
felt very like that.
So as a kid, that was one of the scariest things I'd ever seen, the hand coming out of the vent to
Hmm.
pick up the
I
fork.
still thought it was scary. Nope, I still thought it was scary when we watched it. I may have said otherwise in the recording. I don't remember what I said, but I think about it now and it's scary. We have a closet right here in the because this is a master bedroom. Is what I use for my studio, and so it has a master closet. It's very big. And you walk into it and it has this like attic door. And one time I nearly shit myself because I walked in there and I guess it's real windy in El Paso, and so I
I
guess
have
the
that
wind,
attic door in my
yes, it
closet.
had
Yes.
like shifted it, and I was like, I ran and got Alistair. I'm like, somebody's in here, somebody is up there, and
I would think that too.
I
I
left it
would
like
think
that
that
for
too.
2 months because I was not gonna go in there.
We had squirrels, a nest of squirrels in our attic. And that was, I think, when I first moved back in. It was before I moved back in because
Mm.
I remember sitting with my grandma. She was living here and we were sitting in the living room. And I was like, Grandma, do you hear that? Because no one else, mom and dad don't hear that. She was like, Yeah, that's animals. And I was like, Okay, I thought so. And then there ended up being a bunch of dead squirrels. Like the living room started to stink. And it was because
There's
two
been too
squirrels
many
got caught.
stories on the dailymail.com that show people just living in
Right,
other people's houses.
right.
So I'm never going to say, oh, it's an animal. Oh, houses make noises at night. No, the fuck they don't. No,
Yeah, they
there's
do.
a person in
They
here.
do.
No,
They do.
there's a person in your house, Ian. There's a person in there. Um, I think at one
My
point we were talking about like houses making. I think it was after that part, right? And I looked over to Alistair and I said, Is our house,
yeah.
does it make noises now?" And I don't think my house makes noises now, but the house that we used to live in, the old one that was built in the '80s, used to make noises all the time.
Yeah, my I think this house had owned one previous owner before my
Mm.
parents, and they
That's
moved
the
here
one
when I
who
was
died
one.
in the walls.
The my nice apartment in Astoria, which we're positive was haunted, the former tenant died in the apartment,
Mm.
like of old age, not like murder, but like
And it refuses to leave.
we're probably still enjoying that apartment. It got remodeled. It looks very nice.
It's terrible. Um, to bring this back to Cobweb, I guess. The teacher. There's this big teacher character who is supposed to be like the champion for, no child left behind. That kind of, teacher.
Zach did not like her wanting to help,
Freedom
wanting to do
riders.
good.
She's terrible. She's an awful character. I didn't like her. I wanted her to die. Killed.
He needed like a way to be saved, and you knew he couldn't. He wasn't able to save himself. He's a like tiny child.
Yeah. Well, and she was pretty smart by putting the phone number like at the top of the page, right? I,
We like knocked it at first. Or like, oh, that's dumb, but like that makes sense.
well,
A
she should
child
have
could
hid the
find it.
phone number somewhere in there, right? Like as an
Right.
answer or something. But he got it, and they didn't, which was good. But then he goes and like makes the phone call, and she's like Lizzie Capsul's like standing right.
He's
That
like
moment
right
was
there.
like it's crazy. This movie is full of crazy moments. It's just full of
Yes.
like wild shit. Because the moment where he's on the phone, I'm like my anxiety's already up, and he hangs up the phone. I'm like she's behind him, and then the camera goes over. I'm like oh shit, she's behind him. Like she's really behind him.
Because
That
it's like
was
you hear that
wild.
creak, and he looks in the doorway. She's not there, but then she's right behind him.
When he pulls back the wallpaper and he throws the ball in, and then we think I thought the ball's gonna come back out, and it shows
Yeah,
the
yeah,
eye. That shit was crazy. I
that got me.
jumped. I don't like a funneled in dream sequence that really doesn't have anything to do with any of the plot. And we had one of
Yeah,
those, but it was still very effective.
right. Like I agree with you, but like even though I still think that, I do think this dream like it worked, right?
Because we saw both of them, right? Both of the parents,
Yeah,
and Lizzie
because he was
Kaplan like
making the clock
running.
noises,
Yeah,
and she was
it,
make she looked like the daughter. Yeah,
it was wild. That was wild. I knew. So something that really scares me is always a true crime. Like I'm a broken record. You hear me say it all the time, but like this shit really can happen. So Peter breaks Brian's leg by pushing him down the stairs, and so Brian and his family. Well, I guessed it was older brothers or something like
yeah.
that. So that's what I'm gonna say it is. But him showing, them all showing up and like casing the house, and then showing up to really fuck up Peter and not caring if the parents were going to be there. That's scary. Is because
Yeah.
it's like people from your school really
I
can
thought
hurt you like
like,
that.
and it also like built more tension because you're like, oh fuck, like how
Yeah,
like now even though his parents are dead and he could get out, like now we have
it's
this.
it's scary. That stuff is really scary.
Yeah,
But like this is a horror movie, so I knew what was about to happen. But them
getting more
showing up to
bodies.
do that is really terrifying. When He kills his parents, and I clicked on my remote because I wanted to see how much longer we still had. 28 minutes, and I so as soon as he killed his parents, I'm like, oh fuck, he's about to let this bitch out, and he starts going up there. His mom like chases him with the knife because I guess at any was she gonna stab him? Is this the same
Right.
question we have? Was she gonna stab him like at any cost? Keep that woman behind the wall, or was she gonna push him down and go up there and like what
Right,
was
or
she
was
about
she
to
like
do?
getting the knife in case she got out and like
Something.
but I
And
was wondering that too. Like even like as we're talking about it, I'm like, wait a minute, but I gotta bring up the knife because like what
yeah,
was she because we didn't see her try to stab him. She just tried to grab his leg.
yeah. Whatever the case may be, he pushed her down the stairs too because it's just his thing. It's his thing. He
Sure
was
is.
he was gonna show up to school and hurt somebody one day. So I'm glad he was not in school no more. Got expelled. This family is clearly crazy, and I don't think the gene missed him. I just think he wasn't old enough to come into that crazy yet. But he was going to
Mm.
follow somebody home after school with a knife one day on
I
Halloween.
was curious how old I wanted to know the age the monster was supposed to be because like
She's old. She looked old.
right, she looked like a haggard like goblin, but like Lizzie Kaplan's my age, so like
Lizzie Kaplan was like 15 when she had this woman. It's whatever. Maybe she just came out looking like a Benjamin Button.
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Could have
yeah.
been like that. But anyway, that moment when he pushes Lizzie Kaplan down the stairs and says, she
Just don't
tells
let
him,
her
right?
go.
She like comes
Yeah,
back up and grabs him and says, don't let her out.
yeah.
I was like, oh, fuck. Like, don't do it. Don't do it. We follow him all the way up there, and the doors that they like, these little trap doors and hidden doors get smaller every time. And so this is like a tiny door now behind this like grandfather clock.
I I feel like that's when I would have changed, right? Because I was already weary of that voice.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like I was thinking like as a kid, even not thinking like just thinking like a child, right? Like he's like what,
Yeah.
10, 12? I don't know.
Yeah.
Even thinking like that, I would just be too scared then to be like, oh,
I
I
would have
just
been too
killed,
scared.
right? Like I just killed her and she was still saying, don't do it, don't let her out. Like
Yeah.
that would scare me so much more that I think like I would call the police or my teacher to be like, hey, can you come over? Because we need to let
My
someone out,
sister's
but I'm
locked in the
scared.
wall.
Yeah.
Please come help. I would do that. But
Yes.
I would think I would have been too scared to open anything, right? Because when
Yes.
he
Yes.
does, um,
I'm getting now
like
I'm getting spooked. Now
the
I'm getting
laugh
spooked.
goes
Yeah.
from like a little girl's laugh down to a deep laugh,
Ooh,
Deborah
yeah.
Wilson's laugh. And then you see these just like little pins of light in the darkness start to come out. And I was like, shit.
Yeah.
But then he ran to his room, and I was like, go
Out the
outside, out the
door.
front.
Like,
And there were plenty of opportunities for him to do that, right? Like when Lizzie Kaplan is in real stressed out in the kitchen, like cutting up the pumpkins, go, run, take off.
real
Something.
stressed out cutting up pumpkins.
I felt real bad for her. I did. I did. I was on Lizzie's side for most of the movie until she died.
I well, no, I because like I still the thing I still don't get is like,
Yeah.
but why were they terrible to
Because they were
them?
terrible
Like,
parents. I do like that point a lot, is that there was no reason they were terrible parents. They weren't terrible parents because they were scared of this monster in the walls. They were terrible parents because they were terrible parents. They were terrible parents to that monster, and they were
like
terrible
two
parents to this
separate
little boy.
things.
Because
Yeah.
there's no reason that they should have ever put the little boy in the basement. That's terrible. That's a child called it right there.
Right. Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
don't do that shit, right? They're just bad parents. But Lizzie Kaplan has got a special place in my heart, so it doesn't matter what she does. I'm always going to see her as Lizzie Kaplan.
I mean, I do love a Lizzie Kaplan.
Anthony Starr, he's evil. Yeah, they were just shitty parents. And I guess he gets like adopted by the teacher at the end. So happy family, I guess.
I went when they were all vomiting. I think I unmuted to be like, are they throwing up blood or are they monsters? Because it looked so dark.
Oh
I was
yeah.
like, are they supposed to be demons? And like, that's it.
And I knew they were going to throw up, right? Because if it's rat poison, and I saw the foreshadowing of the rat poison coming later, like the little pellets. I figured that was going to happen, or something. It was going to be used somehow like that. But usually when you ingest stuff like that, you throw up. Like rat
you
poison
do?
will make
Okay.
you throw up. Yeah, it'll hit your gag reflex. And so they were doing that. It was taking her a little bit longer, but she was like, he starts, the
he was
husband
like
starts throwing up, and
housing it.
she's like trying to get the phone, and then the phone's cut. And I'm like, fuck, this little boy is about to take a knife and butcher his parents and chase Lizzie Kaplan around the house. I knew he was bad news. Lock his ass in the basement, put him back down there. Something's about to happen. And it did.
I did think it was all like very well like premeditated for a child, but I
Well,
guess
it
like
was
she
her.
kind of,
Yes, it
yeah,
was her. That's what I thought was really good, is like the corrupting of this poor kid. Because this kid, like, I make jokes, but this is a very sad situation that this kid was
right,
in,
yeah,
right? Like, his parents, he was like super sheltered anyway, which already can create. I don't want to piss off any sheltered kids out there. Can create like sort of a distance between you and people in the outside world. So him at school, he has this distance between himself and like all the other kids because he is sheltered. He's not allowed to do a whole
right,
lot of
yeah.
things, right? And so that really sucks. Then he goes home and his parents are fucking terrible. Lock him in the basement behind the refrigerator, right? Like I was like, the teacher, get him, get him. He's behind the
Yes.
fridge.
I see. This is why I liked the teacher because it was like, oh, good, she's gonna save him. Like that's where we're going with this. And I liked. I even thought that scene with her at the house was tense. Like I
It
was like,
was, it was. Well, I thought she was about to get it with the
I
hammer. I thought she was about to get it.
I was like, ooh, this is where she's gonna die. She's gonna get a chase scene. But it worked, right, for like
Yeah,
tension. Like even though there wasn't like a big moment in that
yeah.
scene, it like worked with the tension, I thought.
It was really good. And then
The
when
movie was just really good at tension in general.
it was, which I think is all you really, you have your story. Maybe your story's not the strongest. Maybe your reveal's not the strongest, the twist, the mystery, whatever. But if you can pack it in with some tense moments that really feed the story, I think it works really, really well.
Because again, I almost feel like the dream scene and even the other bully kids coming to the house at the end could have been like probably not there in the original script, and they're like, we need a little bit more,
Hmm.
add that in, but it worked, right? So it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Apparently, this script was like some on some list a little while ago. I like briefly saw it right before we started recording. But about like some like one of the best unproduced scripts or something like that on a list of like best unproduced scripts that need to be
Huh.
like made into something. Um, the
How frustrating it must be to have your script on that list. Be like,
mm.
someone just fucking
But
make
then
it.
there's
Like,
people I see. But then we have the internet, and there are people looking at that list. So if your script ends up on the list, that's could be really beneficial.
true, true, true,
Clearly,
true.
because somebody looked at it.
Seth Rogen
Um,
probably looked at it, stoned
I'm
his
glad
shit.
Seth Rogen wasn't the teacher. I'll be good with that. The whole thing, I like the whole thing. The when she's finally this little monster's finally let out, she like really goes to town on all of these people in the house, right?
She
Like
has a
she
great
pulls one
time.
guy underneath the piano, and there's just like this explosion of
Gush of
blood, and
blood.
I'm like, what the fuck did you do? What did you do? Was this like a toothpaste roll? Did you just
Some mush 'em.
like a go-gurt?
And like she fucking beheads the one guy after throwing him against the wall a whole bunch.
Yeah, and what did she do to Brian? I don't even remember what she did to Brian.
She like
Low
you
Brian,
don't see he oh little Brian, yeah, you don't see. Isn't it like he just screams from afar, I think?
maybe. I don't. It was moving so fast. I don't know. And then the teacher
Yeah.
was pulling up, and we knew something was going to happen with the teacher. Um, and then the all of the like, it was just so wild, and it wasn't necessarily scary because like once we got to all of this, and like she's like actually out and killing people, I wasn't terrified. I wasn't scared. I wasn't feeling a whole
I was
really that
scared.
tense.
Yeah, I was scared when it was like just the hair. Like that
The
creeps me
hair
out.
was
Or
the hair was weird.
it
Yeah,
was like I
it
feel
was
like I'm gonna see that
long.
hair like be like on my
It was
shoulder.
long. But then when they're like
um,
fighting it, and she like
yeah,
takes
yeah.
the kid back down, and there's this big well.
When we see it, I will say it looked like, and I don't mean this in a positive manner, it looked like a deadite from Evil Dead, like from the original
It's
series.
it's the creature feature,
Yeah.
It's just the creature. We need to quit saying that because she's a woman. She was a person who was abused, kept in a
Okay, but like
wall.
she's a monster with
No, I was on
superpowers.
her side. I
Long
was
ass
like, very much
fingers.
kill the teacher. Yes, you deserve all of this. You deserve this murder. This should be your house.
I really did think I like for a minute there, I was like, oh, is she gonna kill both the teacher and the boy? Because I
Yeah.
don't want that boy to
Well,
die.
I knew as soon as her hair was like dangling down into the well while she was at the teacher, and he fucking Rapunzel's that shit. I knew it was over for her, but it really wasn't. It's still a good ending for her. Actually, it was a worse ending. Kill her, just kill her, because he locked her down there in the
I didn't
basement.
know. So like, okay, we're at the end, I guess. So like, the ending really, really felt like they were like, "Whoops, we forgot to film the end, and we
We
already
were. It
wrapped."
didn't feel like they had budget for the end. There was no ending, no
I
ending
like
budget.
would love to know what went in because the ending isn't bad, but it just
Mhm.
is weird, right? Because it's like they trap her, but then it's like, okay, did they not trap? Is this like The
They
thing we
trap her,
see,
but then I
is that like
like
the future?
no, it's not the future. It's the what could be. It's her words at the end because when she is saying, you'll always be scared of me. The fear
Which
of
is
me is I was
true.
going to
That's
carry with
trauma.
you. And
Yes.
if somebody is locking me down there and is walking away, I'm gonna scare the shit out of them. I'm gonna say everything I can. Be like, I'm coming for you, bitch. You better sleep with an eye open. I will get out of here one day.
I just feel like, but they put her, that pit wasn't, there was no hallway, right? That was just a pit.
Just a pit. Just a
Because
pit.
I
And
feel
who put the
like
pit there? Who made the pit?
she said the dad made the pit.
Okay, you're not gonna convince me that that man was a handyman enough to make a pit like that. Absolutely
Like
not.
that.
No.
Like, that is a deep ass pit.
Yes.
But also, if she's in there, just like, I don't know, I'd like throw a match in
Kill
there,
her. Like Laurie
put a bunch
Strode
of
is good at
bleach.
locking somebody in a basement and just like
Yeah,
dropping a
yeah.
little flare. But don't like that was even crueler, I think, because she became a monster. She became evil because of the way she was treated. And so
You're not gonna sell me on like this is cruel to this
I love
monster.
her. I love her, and I think that it was too cruel to lock her down there like that. Just kill her. Just kill
If
her
like
because now she's down there even longer, and she ain't got Lizzie Kaplan to feed her pumpkin bread,
whatever the fuck she was feeding her,
pork,
yeah.
brown shit, shit,
I
shit.
because I my thought process was smash those long ass fingers and those fingernails with a hammer so she can't climb. Because I feel like leave her ass in that pit forever. But I would be worried if she wasn't dead that she would be in any house I
You're
was
not going
in.
to tell me that this girl is not Samara come back from the ring. This
Well,
is
it's
her.
funny, right?
This is her story.
You kept joking about that, like, oh, it's Samara on the walls, and then then it's hair and like kind of
And a whale.
and a well that's a pit, but
It was,
mostly
I don't know,
well.
justice for Sarah, man. Justice for Sarah. And I hope she comes back out. And I hope she kills that little kid. And I hope she kills that teacher.
No, don't
Yes.
be
And I hope she
mean.
is a creepy thing in the house. And everybody is scared of that house because they know that people die in the house.
Like that's the house where
Isn't it scary though? Like, so they're going to find all the bodies, right? They're going to take all the bodies out and stuff like that. But then one day, that house is just going to be abandoned and people are going to walk by to hear her down there. That's a freaking
well,
scary movie. Give me a
I
part two because that's already giving me chills.
I feel like they would have had to explain what happened, right? Because
Who?
otherwise, the little boy and that
Hmm.
teacher would go to jail for murder, right?
He did kill people. He did kill his parents.
He did, but they would have to like be like, she did that.
So what do you think she is in jail? Think they put her in handcuffs and she just went? I say let's stop vilifying women. Barbarian, Cobweb. I think women trapped in dungeons deserve their time of murder.
I mean, she got hers. She got her time of murder.
Not enough. Not enough.
She didn't murder enough children.
Exactly.
Yeah, but okay, but it does end abruptly, right? Even when it's like she's talking,
I
and
don't
it's
like
like
the
as soon
ending.
as
Yeah.
as soon as her dialogue stops, it's done, and we're just like seeing him imagining it. And I don't know, I felt like it almost would have worked better if she's saying that and we're just seeing him walk out, but he still looks like scared.
Yes. And then I think a sort of like shot or something of like much later the house at night and hearing a voice coming from like the house because there's windows, there's basement windows, so
Right,
you
yeah,
would
yeah.
hear something coming from that. I think that is very great creepy that she would still be down there. I think that would give me chills, more chills than
Yeah.
knowing that she's running around because when she did run around, when she did get loose, it wasn't that scary, right? But knowing something is like trapped is a
It was
little.
thrilling because it was like,
Yes.
"Ooh," but
Yeah.
yeah,
I love the movie though. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm gonna be watching it pretty much
yeah.
every
We
year.
can complain about. We both are complaining about the end, but we still like, which says a lot
Oh,
for the
the
movie.
ending,
That we,
like that it doesn't even piss me off. The ending, I didn't really like it, but like it doesn't piss me off. I'm not thinking about it. It's okay.
but right, I do feel like that's a big credit to the movie for us to both be
Yes.
like, yeah, that ending was kind of dumb, but like we still fucking loved it.
Yeah, I love the movie.
Yeah.
I'm really solid movie. So
The really like it was just impeccable vibes. I felt like of like the
yes,
spooky season shit, and I love
yes.
that.
The backyard full of pumpkins, and then he has pumpkins on his wallpaper. That is like A plus shit.
Oh, they weren't pumpkins. They were
Don't tell me that.
hot air balloons.
Oh fuck that! No, those are pumpkins. I saw pumpkins. You saw pumpkins, and we're gonna leave it at pumpkins.
Okay,
Okay, they loved pumpkins. Okay, they
got it.
farmed pumpkins. Is that's what they were doing. There was a scene that I had a question about. That I did have questions throughout the movie. So like, there's a scene where everybody's carving pumpkins at school, and I'm like, did they get that from his house, or
Did they order them all from
Does this
fans?
family supply the town with pumpkins? What is the story about the pumpkins? I think that's my number one question. So
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like the answer could easily be yes, right? Like, say a lot of fucking pumpkins in that
the
backyard.
murder pumpkins. Okay, that was our review of Cobweb. We do love it. We highly recommend that y'all go and buy it. Thank you so much, Paramount, for sponsoring us today. Just kidding. We didn't get any advance copy. We bought this shit.
I wish.
I know, right? Lizzie Kaplan, send us a bootleg one day.
Yeah, yeah, hit us up. Come on the podcast. We'll chat.
We are partnered with horrorpress.com though, and you write for horrorpress.com sometimes. And what do you have coming up, Ian?
I have coming up a piece about um trauma and final girls and horror and how horror helps me work through grief. I've done a few Buffy at 25, like visiting certain episodes, like Becoming. And I Only Have Eyes for You. I did a Ghostface ranking. I did a review of Scream 6. That's very long. Yeah, and you should check them out because they have some other great writers writing for them.
There you go. There you go. Go check out horrorpress.com. We thank you for watching this episode, listening to this episode, however you may enjoy us. If you are listening to us, make sure to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you are watching, make sure to smash that like button, leave a comment, tell us who lives in your walls, right?
And then tell us how you are enjoying us.
Yes. And we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.